Mesut Özil. He was praised for his passes, for his genius on the ball, and he was a role model of successful integration. But then the fall. He was kicked out of the Arsenal squad and has been heavily criticized in Germany since this photo. Today, we'll take a look at his career, because a once young football star who seemed to break all the records became one of the most unpopular players in Germany, England, and even in Turkey. It's 2006 and the management of Schalke was in a good mood because they had a jewel in their ranks, the 17-year-old Mesut Özil. At the time, he was being touted as the next big thing, and while playing in the youth teams, had already attracted the attention of the new national coach, Jogi Löw. Growing up in Gelsenkirchen, he learned to kick a ball on this football pitch and developed into a classic street football player. As he often played with his older siblings, he quickly had to learn to control the ball well, as he was physically inferior to the other children. But even in his childhood, he had to struggle. His father had come to Germany in the 60s. Mesut was born in Germany, but on the football pitch, he was often referred to as the Turk. 2006, his debut in the first team of Schalke. And wow, what a player. But then, the big clash. Schalke would not extend his contract after both sides failed to agree on the terms. Özil reportedly felt that the 1.5 million salary of the offer was not enough, and hence the transfer in January 2008. For 5 million euros, Özil went from Schalke to Bremen. The 2008-2009 season was a disappointing one for Bremen. They only finished 10th in the Bundesliga, but Özil played outstandingly, and at just 20 years old, he delivered 23 assists in 47 games, an incredible rate. And with the help of his great performance, Bremen marched all the way to the German Cup final against Leverkusen.
Özil. Özil hat ein bisschen Platz. Mesut Özil!
Goal by Mesut Özil. Bremen won the cup 1-0. The DFB also had become aware of this young player with the magic legs, but as Özil had Turkish citizenship, he had to renounce it before he could take German citizenship. This happened in 2007, so from then on, Özil could also play in the youth teams of the national team. And in 2009, he was one of the pillars, together with Boateng and Neuer, who won the U21 European Championship. The next season was another brilliant performance from the 21-year-old. In 46 games, he scored 10 goals and made 29 assists. Those are really crazy numbers. And then the big moment. World Cup 2010 in South Africa. And the man who had watched Özil from a young age had full confidence in him. Mesut played in every game and paid back the trust.
There may be something for Özil here. There's a ripper of a goal.
In the end, Germany became third, and Mesut had finally played his way into the hearts of the Germans. You know, Germany was and is a country where many people with a migration background grow up. Özil's career was seen as a role model, the example of a successful integration. And that is precisely why he was awarded the Bambi for integration in 2010.
Mesut Özil, der Ausnahmesportler. Sein unverkrampfter Umgang mit türkischen Wurzeln und deutschem Nationaltrikot ist vorbildlich für uns alle.
Nobody knew then there would be a lot of drama 8 years later. After his top performances, everyone realized this is a coming world star who creates chances like no other. And now many top clubs were knocking on Bremen's door. Bayern, Barcelona, Juventus. But Özil went to Real Madrid for 15 million euros. At the age of 21, he was already at the top. But there was a problem. Kaká was a starting playmaker, and Özil was supposed to be his backup. But then, weeks that would change Özil's career forever. Kaká wasn't able to play due to injuries, and Özil replaced him and played his way into the starting 11. In his first season, he scored 10 goals in 54 games and made 29 assists. He was a brilliant player who could play the final pass like no other. And at Madrid, he had one player who could score goals like no other.
Moves inside Ronaldo!
Cristiano Ronaldo, and those two were a deadly duo. The next season at Real, he scored 7 goals and provided 28 assists, and he also looked great on the international stage at the Euro 2012. He provided the most assists at the tournament, and in the 2012-2013 season, 10 goals and 25 assists. And just to understand how extremely good Özil was, here's a comparison of goals scored by other top players at the same age. Özil was just in a different league up here. With Madrid, he won the Championship, the Spanish Cup and the Super Cup. Moreover, during his 3 seasons in Madrid, he was one of the 20 players nominated for the Ballon d'Or every single year. But it wasn't all easy for him. Even back then, he was sometimes accused of a lackluster style of play and a lack of physical intensity. 2013 then an interesting summer for Özil. There were rumors that he was not happy under the new coach Ancelotti, who oftentimes favored Modric and the new signing Isco. And so on September 2nd, 2013, the big news.
Mesut Özil is now only playing in the Premier League for Arsenal.
He went to Arsenal for 50 million euros, and there he impressed right away with his English skills.
One sentence in English.
I'm a gunner.
Joke aside, because in his debut against Sunderland, he did what made him so famous the years before.
Ball beautifully taken in a stride by Özil into Giroud!
A goal assist. And then the following week,
Goal that would just crush Stoke and lead them towards victory is Sanya, and he's beaten Begovic!
2 assists in the match against Stoke City. It couldn't have started any better, but it didn't go on like this. Arsenal finished the season in the 4th place. Özil played good, but he couldn't live up to his performances at Madrid and only provided 14 assists and scored 7 goals. Still not bad at all, but no comparison to his previous stats. But to be fair, we also gotta say that he still created a lot of chances with his passing at Arsenal. But Giroud just didn't convert as many as Ronaldo or Benzema at Real. And hey, Giroud wasn't a bad player, but just no Ronaldo. But the season wasn't over yet. There was one last game, FA Cup final against Hull City. Would Arsenal finally win another title? The last one was already 9 years ago.
Looking for Huddleston, who got a strike, he takes a deflection and it's gone
Hull
into...
City with a goal in the 4th minute, and only 4 minutes later,
Quinn, good play from him. And it's nearly 2, and it is!
absolutely crazy. Arsenal's defense was not present up to this point, but then a wonderful free kick from Santi Cazorla.
It's going to be Santi Cazorla. Not a bad strike, what a goal that was!
Arsenal scored another goal and scored the 3-2 in extra time. That was a win and Özil's first trophy at his new club. But his greatest success of the year was yet to come. World Cup 2014 in Brazil. Germany easily became first in their group. In the round of 16, they faced Algeria. That shouldn't be a problem, right? Germany struggled. The game went into extra time. 1-0. And then in the 119th minute, Özil with the second goal. They beat France in the quarterfinals and then the famous 1-7 against Brazil in the semifinals. And then the final against Argentina. The game went into extra time and there the moment of substitute Mario Götze.
Schöne. Der kommt an! Mach ihn!
Germany won. Özil was world champion. And Özil had big plans for the next season, but according to the numbers, it was to be his worst to date. He scored only 5 goals and gave only 9 assists, but he also had to fight with injury problems throughout the season. And he still played a big part in Arsenal's win of the FA Cup.
To Arsenal!
In the 2015-2016 season, he seemed to have arrived in London completely. He played outstandingly and found gaps in the opponent's defense that no one else saw.
Spots Özil. Özil flicks one in, Alexis!
In total, he scored 8 goals and provided 20 assists, the most in the Premier League. He was also voted Arsenal's player of the season. The fans loved him, and he loved Arsenal. Then, in the summer of 2016, the European Championship in France. And as world champions, the ambition was clear. Germany wanted to become European champions. And he and the rest of the team played a good tournament, but then had to admit defeat to host France in the semi-finals. Regardless, Özil played really well and was brilliant with his passing. For example, in the game against Northern Ireland, he had a passing accuracy of 99%, which is an insane rate. But we are approaching the turning point of Özil's career. His 2016-2017 season was still good. He gave 15 assists and scored 12 goals. One of them, this unforgettable one.
And there's no flag this time. And Özil with a chance to win it. It's Mesut Özil.
And Arsenal reached the FA Cup final again, this time against champions Chelsea.
Oh, they're behind again.
They won 2-1. The 2017-18 season was not an easy one for Arsenal. They only finished on 6th place in the Premier League, and this was the end of an era. Arsene Wenger left the club. After this mixed season, Özil wanted to shine with the national team. The 2018 World Cup was coming up, but then a picture that was to change everything.
Dieses Foto hier wird derzeit heftig diskutiert. İlkay Gündoğan und Mesut Özil, zwei deutsche Fußballnationalspieler, haben sich ablichten lassen mit dem türkischen Präsidenten Erdogan, der mitten im Wahlkampf steckt.
There was criticism from all sides. The DFB tried to protect Özil and Gündoğan, but they also criticized them. Gündoğan said that he did not want to make a political statement with the meeting. Özil remained silent on the subject. During friendly matches, the two were booed heavily by their own fans, and some even called for them not to be part of the World Cup squad. Löw, however, stood behind both of them because the team had big plans.
Flick towards the near post, bouncing around dangerously, and South Korea have scored! Can you believe it?
The embarrassment. Germany, the reigning world champions, finished last in the group. After this horrible performance, Germany looked for a scapegoat, and thus the Erdogan topic came up again. DFB President Grindel was dissatisfied that Özil had not spoken out yet and publicly demanded that he should finally do so.
Mesut Özil hat seinen Rücktritt aus der deutschen Nationalmannschaft erklärt.
He also accused DFB President of racism and that the DFB had not backed him sufficiently in the face of all the hostility. Özil, who only 8 years ago was considered a celebrated example of integration, suddenly sparked a debate about integration and racism. And the wonderful relationship between him and the German national team ended in a war of the roses. The 2018-19 season was supposed to be a new beginning, but there was no happy ending here either. After Arsene Wenger, Unai Emery became the coach at Arsenal. And while Arsene was always protective of Özil and treated him carefully, Emery was increasingly critical of his number 10. For example, he criticized Özil's attitude and commitment and accused him of not being self-critical enough. Özil was used less and less and scored only 6 goals this season and gave only 3 assists, far too little compared to his numbers before. His performance in the 2019 Europa League final when Arsenal lost to Chelsea was symbolic. He looked like he didn't care. He was allowed to start, but was substituted in the 77th minute when Chelsea was leading 4-1. In the following season, the coach was changed again in the winter of 2019. Mikel Arteta, with whom Özil had played together, came in as the new manager. But Özil played even less and only scored 1 goal and provided 3 assists. And then he did something which brought him huge trouble at Arsenal. In a tweet, he criticized the Chinese government for its treatment of the Uyghurs and criticized Muslims worldwide for their silence on the matter. And Arsenal, they distanced themselves from Özil and described the statement as Mesut's personal views and that Arsenal does not interfere in political matters. And China, they were so outraged that they didn't show the Premier League match between Arsenal and City on TV. Once again, Mesut Özil was left alone by everyone. In addition, there was trouble with the club management a few months later. They wanted to ask the players to give up 12.5% of their wages because of the corona pandemic. With Özil's annual salary of 20 million, that would have been around 200,000 euros a month. He refused on the grounds that the club did not want to say exactly what the money would be used for. And the next season, the tip of the iceberg. He was not nominated for the Europa League squad and was dropped from the Premier League squad. Arsenal and Özil, here too the relationship ended in a war of the roses. And the end? On January 24, 2021, Özil's contract with Arsenal was terminated and he moved to Fenerbahce Istanbul in the Turkish Super League. This was the club that he had already supported as a child. And his relationship with Germany?
Almanya milli takımına yani başarılar diliyorum ama ben asla bir daha oynamam yani.
Fenerbahce could hardly believe their luck, and the atmosphere among the fans was fantastic. He played for Fenerbahce for a total of 18 months. A special highlight was when he captained Fenerbahce against Galatasaray and scored the equalizer. And his team won the game in injury time. In a total of 37 games, he scored 9 goals and gave 3 assists. But here too was a sad ending. On March 24, 2022, he was suspended, and in July, his contract was terminated. Apparently, there were disagreements with the coach and the management. Shortly after this, the midfielder moved within the city to league rivals Başakşehir, for whom he played 8 times, but he repeatedly struggled with injuries, and then on March 22, 2023, the decision.
Mesut Özil verkündet, 34-jährig, via Instagram das sofortige Ende einer außergewöhnlichen Karriere.
Mesut Özil, a player who will be remembered for his brilliant passes at Madrid, Arsenal and in the national team, who celebrated many successes, but who also often attracted negative attention due to his listless manner and to his close ties to Erdogan, for which some Turks even criticize him. It's a career which, despite all the successes and his genius, somehow leaves a bitter aftertaste.